This data will be useful for such future sectors like smart cities, Internet of Things, Industrial Internet of Things, smart factory, and smart industrial.
Hello everybody, it's Max with Crypto Talk Now with this brief Jasmy update. Let's jump right into it. So I want to show you this report from the one and only Zippy, and he has basically mentioned what you see right here. Jasmy will attend the IVS official event. It's on June 28th through the 30th, and basically like it shows, it's this year. He says this is big. I think it's big as well. There's a reason why it's big, and we're going to get into that here in just a moment. It says the #1 crypto conference in Japan. It's the flagship event of Japan Blockchain Week. And let's face it, I mean, throughout the last few months, Jasmine has been killing it, attending some of these blockchain conferences, events, whether it's in Japan, Hong Kong, and so on. Now, one of the key things here is Ripple. We're going to jump into that here in a bit. So, it says Kyoto, Japan, June 12th. This comes from Chainwire, but it points out a few key things here. It says that this event is Japan's largest conference, basically, for Web3 entrepreneurs, as well as investors, developers, so on and so forth, right? A lot of big key players. They represent this thing called Next City. The future Web3 starts from here. Imagine, when they talk about Next City, if you've been following Jasmy for a while, for instance, you understand the concepts of, like, for instance, smart cities and so on. So I imagine they're going to introduce some of these concepts with people in Japan. They already know about some of these things, but there may be other people that they want to, get this out to who may not be in the loop, let's face it. But I want to go to this page specifically because this takes you right to the IVS events site. And, it's quite the conference, to say the least. They're going to have 10,000 plus attendees. They're going to have 700 plus speakers. I did go through the list to try to see if it did mention anybody specifically from Jasmy. And I didn't see that on that specific list. However, I want to point this out, and that is on that list of speakers is this guy, and that is Genki Oda. Now, as we know, Genki Oda, even though right here, for instance, he's a managing executive officer of SBI Holdings. I actually didn't realize that, right? That's something new I learned. And in the previous Jasmy video, we did highlight towards the end, actually not the previous ones, the one that's, Jasmy, QNT, and XDC. Towards the end, we did highlight how there was a particular CEO. She specifically mentioned, for instance, QNT and so on. But you understand, SBI Holdings with XDC and so on. But this guy, we understand that through BitPoint, he specifically mentioned numerous times Jasmy, and also, again, I would highly recommend watching the other previous video of why Jasmy is listed as, or branded as, the Bitcoin of Japan. This guy, many years ago, originally introduced BTC, as in Bitcoin, to the people of Japan, and enabled, like, Bitcoin ATMs and, all these little stations, if you will, all throughout Tokyo and other places and so on. So him apparently having this position with SBI Holdings and also being a key speaker at this event, yes, you better believe that's big. Why is that so big, though? All right, we're going to jump into that. So here's a little bit more detailed information in regards to him. So when we were talking about, for instance, data free flow with trust, DFFT, and I said to you guys, this guy is a key player when it comes to self-regulatory compliance, things like that. He's well connected. Boy, is he ever well connected. Okay, so obviously BitPoint. Obviously, he's got that connection with Jasmy. They're a key partner, and he mentioned him by name numerous times. Check out what's mentioned here. Like he also mentions, managing executive officer, SBI, founder of BitPoint. They're also pointing that out. Board member of the Japan Crypto Asset Business Association. Highlighted that in last video. Vice chairman of the board of the Japan Virtual and Crypto Assets Exchange Association. Mentioned that before. A recognized self-regulatory organization for crypto assets. And now, how about this part? One of the change makers to improve various regulations of the crypto asset market in Japan. He's literally the key guy. Obviously, has ties to the WDF and so on, right? So when we mention all these key things in the background about DFFT and so on, understand that this guy is, again, very, very well connected. Now, let's get to this part about the whole Ripple thing, right? You saw a thumbnail, Ripple and Jasmy and so on. That sounds pretty crazy in itself. Well, I want to show you guys this right here. And actually, it's not that particular page. I apologize. Let me jump back for a second. So one of the things you're going to see here, and let's just pull this up. Open Ripple. Corporate partners in collaboration, with IVS Crypto to shape the future Web3 ecosystem. And who is the leading provider, like it shows here, or the host, sponsor of this event? It's Ripple. You want to see it word for word? Like it says, Ripple, a leading provider of enterprise blockchain and cryptocurrency solutions, is sponsoring IVS Crypto as a diamond corporate partner. Ripple is the one sponsoring this event. And as we know, IVS Crypto, like it says, a diamond corporate partner. Their partners have over 60 corporate partners, and it includes who? You better believe it. Jasmy's part of the bunch. Now, I'm just saying, it's worth pointing out, and it's worth paying attention to. Now, after this event obviously happens, which will be later this month, we'll have to see how it panned out, and, we'll obviously give you guys coverage and so on. But one of the key things I also want everybody to kind of, pay attention to is this right here. And then we'll jump back to why this is so important. And that basically is right, not just here, but I want to show you some pictures, right? So, it shows him, obviously. I mean, he's just so well connected, right? Web3 and so on. But it's this, all right? And look what's mentioned here. CEO of the SBI Group Japan on Twitter, not necessarily, this guy, which is Genki Oda. All these names, sometimes it gets ahead of me. But yeah, all the way back from 2017, CEO of the SBI Group Japan on Twitter, quote, "Wow, XRP at all-time high." Of course, that was back then. Forget about Bitcoin. We are all in on XRP. Ripple is going to remember some of these things, right? You give them props. You think they're just going to let that, go away, right? They're not going to let that go away. If anything, they're going to appreciate that. So they remember that. And like it also shows right here, let's jump back to it. On the speakers list, Genki Oda is right at the top of that list, right? Like he's part of the top 4. I mean, there's many more, like a grocery list of people to go through. The reason why he's at the top of this list is because, like I mentioned, all the things that he's well connected to. So that thing of, for instance, Ripple being the premier sponsor of this event, Jasmy at this event, Larry mentions them being a corporate partner, not directly with Ripple, but directly with who? Let's pull it back up again. IVS Crypto as a diamond corporate partner and being listed part of this, right? And there's a lot of other key players that are part of this, right? Obviously Arbitrum, QuantStamp, some of these other ones, right? So I think it's pretty big. And in light of everything that's happened on, today's a big day, as we know, when it comes to Ripple's XRP. You have, for instance, the Hinman, Bill Hinman emails coming out. Greg Arlinghouse hinted that, the eagerly awaited Hinman documents, which detail internal deliberations by the SEC, could tip the court battle in Ripple's favor. Now, I have stated numerous times before, whether it's on the live show or on these recorded videos for you guys, I feel as though that a combination of a few things could be absolutely huge for crypto. Not fortune teller, I'm just looking at some of these big days. Today is the day of the revealing of the Hinman emails. Okay, so maybe by the time you guys actually get this video and it's uploaded and so on, maybe the Hinman emails will be already, disclosed to all of us and so on, and we'll definitely take a look into that. But if this is correct, and this does tip in, Ripple's favor, that in itself is big. And the other thing that's really, really big that you want to pay attention to is this right here, right? This report comes from Reuters. I've stated many, many times as well. And that is, we get a Fed pause, it could be blast off finally, right? We understand that the SEC, Gary Gensler and so on, absolutely tanked the market. We've seen that in the reflection of prices, whether it's Jasmine, you name it. Like for the most part, like 95 to 99% of the market just bled something fierce. So how this straight from Reuters, equities gain as investors look for cooler inflation, Fed pause, like I was mentioning before. And I'm going to show you some of this. I'm just going to get right to the highlights. The equities index gains partly reflected expectation for a Fed tightening pause for CPI and PPI to come in lower than the prior month. Money managers and strategists basically said, here's a quote, investors have been looking forward to a Fed pause in the rate hiking cycle since they started over a year ago. They're trying to get out ahead of that. And then we'll jump down to this last part. And basically, it's like this. It goes on to mention that traders are pricing in a roughly 75% chance of the Fed keeping rates steady, as in like a pause, and a 25% chance of a 25 basis point rate hike. Of course, I'm rooting for the Fed pause because I feel as though we get a real true Fed pause, it should be blast off. Combine that, for instance, with tipping the scale towards a Ripple win, or how about this? Maybe soon after this, if this ends up being a real great thing for Ripple, maybe you're not into Ripple, you're just into Jasmine, but hear this out. A win for Ripple is truly a win for crypto. And that's why we want to point some of these things out. And yeah, I am, of course, invested into Ripple's XRP as well as Jasmine and so on. A lot of you guys are, some of you guys aren't, and that's okay. But all this stuff is definitely worth paying attention. And like it shows on this particular line here, while the Fed is expected to keep rates steady, surprise rate hikes by the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Bank of Canada last week have still kept investors alert to the idea of a prolonged tightening cycle. I mean, at the end of the day, anything can happen. I do like to see some of the chances that we basically have. And again, two major factors, the pause and also the revealing of tipping the scale for the Hinman emails. It could be very, very bullish here soon for crypto. Obviously, we're all wanting that regulatory framework, clarity, all these things happening. A lot of people putting a big focus, of course, on the Bitcoin halving. But, in reality, we all got to pay attention to this stuff. So, two big dates, today and tomorrow. We'll see what happens with this. But as far as Jasmy, big stuff. Ripple, Jasmy also there at this conference. This head honcho with, for instance, Bitcoin representing or SBI, right, and so on. I think it's big. So we'll have to follow what goes on, and we'll keep you in the loop. Brief video, like I said. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you again for watching. Have a blessed day, everybody. We will see you on the next one.